Okay, well, we have another formula. In fact, when it comes to a geometric sequence, it actually is possible to add up an infinite number of terms in a geometric sequence and have it converge to a number. And the example that I always give is, let's say that the distance from one side of this board to the other side of this board is 1. Okay, and let's say that I'm going to go from the left side of the board to the right side of the board by going half the distance to the end in every step. So in the first step, I'm going to go 1/2 of the way. Right? In the next step, I'm going to go half of the half, which is left, which is 1/4. In the next step, I'm going to go half of the way, and it's going to be 1/8. And next step would be 1/16, and next step would be 1/32. But in every step, I just go halfway to the end of the board. And I'm going to get really, really, really close to the end of the board, but I'm never going to quite get there, right? It's kind of like we're approaching the end of the board like an asymptote. We're going to get infinitely close, but we're never going to get there. But when that happens, we say that the sum converges. And the sum converges whenever a geometric sequence, and clearly this is geometric because look at the terms in the sequence, 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/16. We're multiplying each term by half. When the terms are getting smaller, it's going to converge to one number. And if you go back to the formula that we've used before, I'll just write it here. S sub n equals A1 times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. What you're going to notice is, in fact, if these terms are getting smaller, that means r is less than 1. Absolute value r is less than 1. And if I take a number, a fraction that's less than 1, and I let this n become really, really large, then that term is going to approach 0. And if that term goes to 0, we lose that term. We're left with the formula, which is A1 over 1 minus r. And that's that formula right there. So this formula really comes from the first formula. It's the same thing. We just lost this term here. And so we could add up an infinite number of terms, and we will see that our sum is converging. Remember, in Algebra 2 on the formula sheet, they actually put a little infinity on there. Actually, I've never seen that before. Usually you just say S without the n on it, and that implies that it's going to infinity. But we can do an infinite number of terms. And now we only need two things. We only need the first term, and we need the r. And that is much simpler calculation.